What would you do if your own brother tried to destroy your wedding with lies spread to your entire family? I never thought my own brother would try to destroy the happiest moment of my life, but here we are, sitting in a therapist's office 9 months after my wedding, still trying to untangle the mess Jacob created. Let me take you back to where it all started, back when I still believed blood was thicker than jealousy. My name is Lucas Miller, and I'm 28 years old. For most of my life, I looked up to my older brother Jacob like he was some kind of hero. He was 3 years older, which meant he was always cooler, always knew more, always got to do things first. When we were kids, Jacob was the one who taught me how to ride a bike, how to throw a football, how to talk to girls without stumbling over my words like an idiot. Our parents, Daniel and Grace Miller, always made sure we knew we were supposed to have each other's backs no matter what. Family first, they would say at every dinner, every holiday, every single time one of us had a problem. But somewhere between childhood and adulthood, something shifted in Jacob. It was subtle at first, so subtle I convinced myself I was imagining things. After I graduated from college with a degree in software engineering and landed a job at a tech startup in Seattle, Jacob made a few comments here and there about how I was abandoning the family, how I thought I was too good for our hometown now. I brushed it off, figured he was just missing his little brother. When I got promoted to senior developer 2 years later, he congratulated me over text but never brought it up again in person. When I bought my first condo at 25, he toured it once and never visited again. The real change happened when I met Aurora Green. She walked into a coffee shop where I was working on my laptop one rainy afternoon in March, and I swear the entire room got brighter. She had this laugh that made everyone around her smile, this way of talking that made you feel like you were the only person in the world who mattered. Aurora was 26, worked as a pediatric nurse, and had a heart bigger than anyone I had ever met. We started dating that spring, and by summer, I knew she was the one. I was nervous as hell when I first introduced her to my family at a 4th of July barbecue. My parents loved her immediately. My mom hugged her like she was already part of the family, and my dad spent an hour showing her his garden and talking about his tomato plants. But Jacob was different. He was polite, sure, but there was something cold in his eyes when he shook her hand. Something that made my stomach twist even though I could not explain why. Over the next year, I watched Jacob's behavior toward Aurora become increasingly strange. He would make little comments, things that seemed innocent on the surface but carried a weird edge. Like the time we were all at dinner and Aurora mentioned she was taking a weekend trip to visit her college roommate in Portland, and Jacob said, "Oh, weekend trips, those are always interesting, aren't they?" with this smirk that made no sense. Or when she posted a picture with a male coworker at a hospital charity event, and Jacob sent me a text saying, "Does she hang out with that guy a lot? Seems pretty friendly." I ignored it. I told myself Jacob was just being an overprotective older brother, that he was looking out for me. But deep down, something felt off. By the time I proposed to Aurora in January, kneeling in the snow at the place where we had our first date, I had convinced myself that Jacob would come around. We set the wedding date for early June, giving us 5 months to plan. Aurora was over the moon, spending her evenings looking at flower arrangements and color schemes, texting her maid of honor Sophie Williams with excitement about bridesmaid dresses and cake flavors. I was excited too, but I was also dreading one particular conversation. Asking Jacob to be my best man felt like an obligation I could not avoid. He was my only brother, and despite the weird tension I had been feeling, I knew my parents would be devastated if I chose someone else. So one evening in late January, I drove to Jacob's apartment, a small studio in a building that had seen better days, and asked him over cheap beer and pizza. "Jacob, I need to ask you something," I said, my heart pounding harder than it should have been. "I want you to be my best man. You're my brother, and I cannot imagine anyone else standing up there with me." He looked at me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he broke into a smile that did not quite reach his eyes and said, "Of course, man, I would be honored." We clinked our beer bottles together, and I left feeling relieved but somehow not reassured. I should have trusted that instinct. The first real sign of trouble came in late March, about 3 months before the wedding. My cousin Sophia Martinez called me one evening, her voice hesitant and uncomfortable. "Lucas, I need to ask you something, and please do not get mad at me for asking." She paused. "Is everything okay with you and Aurora?" My blood went cold. "What do you mean?" Of course everything's okay. Why would you ask that? There was another pause. It is just, Jacob mentioned something at Mom's birthday party last week. He said he was worried about you, that he had heard some things about Aurora that concerned him. I did not want to believe it, but I thought I should check in with you directly. What things? What the hell did he say? Sophia sighed. He did not give specifics, just said that Aurora might not be who you think she is, that he had heard rumors about her being unfaithful. Lucas, I do not believe it for a second, but I wanted you to know what he was saying. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. Unfaithful? Aurora? The woman who sent me good morning texts every single day, who brought me soup when I was sick, who spent her weekends volunteering at children's hospitals. It was absurd, completely ridiculous, but the fact that Jacob was spreading this poison through our family made me furious. I confronted him the next day. We met at a park near his apartment, and I did not waste time with pleasantries. What the hell are you telling people about Aurora? He had the audacity to look confused. What are you talking about? Sophia called me. She said you were spreading rumors about Aurora cheating on me. Where is this coming from, Jacob? What is your problem? He held up his hands defensively. Whoa, calm down. I am not spreading rumors. I just mentioned to Sophia that I was concerned because I saw Aurora having coffee with some guy a few weeks ago, and they seemed pretty close. I was worried about you, that is all. Aurora has male friends, Jacob. She has male co-workers. That does not mean she is cheating on me. And even if you were genuinely concerned, why would you gossip about it to our cousin instead of coming to me directly? He shrugged, his face hardening. I did not think you would believe me. You are so wrapped up in this wedding and so obsessed with Aurora that you cannot see what is right in front of you. There is nothing to see, I said through gritted teeth. Aurora has never given me a single reason to doubt her. You need to stop this, whatever this is. Stop talking about her behind my back. Stop planting seeds of doubt in our family's minds. If you have a problem with her, you come to me, not to everyone else. Fine, he said flatly. I will keep my mouth shut. But do not come crying to me when you figure out I was right. I left that conversation shaking with anger and confusion. What had happened to my brother? The Jacob I grew up with would never act like this. But the man standing in front of me seemed like a stranger, someone bitter and vindictive, someone I barely recognized. I told Aurora about the conversation that night. We were curled up on my couch, and I watched her face fall as I explained what Jacob had been saying. She looked hurt, deeply hurt, but also resigned, like she had been expecting something like this. He has never liked me, she said quietly. I have tried so hard to get him to warm up to me, but he just looks at me like I am some kind of threat. You are not a threat, I said, pulling her closer. He is going through something, I do not know what, but it is not about you. It is about him. But her words stuck with me. A threat. Why would Jacob see Aurora as a threat? The answer came a few weeks later, during a family dinner at my parents' house. My mom made her famous lasagna, and we all sat around the dining room table like we had done 1,000 times before. Jacob was there, quieter than usual, pushing food around his plate. At some point, the conversation turned to the wedding, and my mom asked Jacob about the best man speech. Oh, I have been working on something, Jacob said with a smile that made my skin crawl. I think it is going to be pretty memorable. I cannot wait to hear it, my dad said warmly. You always were good with words, Jacob. Jacob glanced at me then, and I saw something flicker in his eyes. Something dark and satisfied. That is when it clicked. Jacob was not just jealous of Aurora. He was jealous of me. Jealous of my job, my condo, my relationship, my happiness. And he was using Aurora as a weapon to try to tear it all down. After dinner, I pulled my mom aside in the kitchen while she was washing dishes. Mom, can I ask you something? Has Jacob seemed, I do not know, different to you lately? She paused, her hand still in the soapy water. Different how? Just bitter. Angry. Like he is upset about something but will not talk about it. My mom sighed and dried her hands on a towel. Your brother has been struggling, Lucas. He lost his job about 6 months ago, and he has not been able to find anything else. I think he is embarrassed about it, especially seeing you do so well. But I am sure he will work through it. He loves you, you know that. I didn't know that, or at least I used to. But love and jealousy could coexist, and I was starting to realize that Jacob's jealousy was stronger than his love right now. The situation escalated dramatically in early May, about a month before the wedding. Aurora's maid of honor Sophie called me on a Tuesday afternoon, and I could hear the anger in her voice before she even said hello. "Lucas, you need to see something," she said. "I am sending you screenshots right now. Check your phone." I pulled my phone away from my ear and opened my messages. Sophie had sent me a series of screenshots from a family group chat that I was not part of. The group was called Miller Family Updates, and it included my parents, Jacob, several aunts and uncles, and a handful of cousins. My stomach dropped as I started reading. The first message was from Jacob, sent 3 days earlier. "Hey everyone, I need to talk to you about something serious. I've been doing some digging, and I found out some information about Aurora that Lucas needs to know before the wedding. I am really worried about him." My Aunt Patricia had responded, "What kind of information, Jacob?" Jacob's next message made my blood boil. "I do not want to get into all the details in this chat, but I have evidence that she has been seeing someone else behind Lucas's back. I saw them together multiple times, and a friend of mine confirmed that they have been having an affair for months. I tried to tell Lucas, but he would not listen to me. I think we need to do an intervention before he makes the biggest mistake of his life." Several family members had responded with shock and concern. My Uncle Kevin wrote, "This is serious. Jacob, are you absolutely sure?" My cousin Ethan said, "Poor Lucas, he has no idea." My Aunt Hannah asked, "Should we tell him or wait until you have more proof?" And then I saw the message that made everything clear. It was from Jacob, sent late at night 2 days ago. Honestly, I do not know if I can stand up there as his best man and watch him marry someone who is going to destroy his life. Let's see if she still walks down the aisle after this. I felt sick. This was not concern for my well-being. This was sabotage, pure and simple. Jacob was actively trying to ruin my wedding, to turn my entire family against Aurora, to humiliate us both. "How did you get these?" I asked Sophie, my voice shaking. "My cousin Lily is in that group chat," Sophie explained. "She showed it to me because she thought it was bullshit and wanted someone outside the family to know what was happening. Lucas, this is psychotic. He is making up lies about Aurora to your entire family. You need to do something about this now." I sat down heavily on my couch, my mind racing. The wedding was in 4 weeks. 4 weeks. And my brother had spent the last month poisoning my family against my future wife with complete fabrications. How many of them believed him? How many of them were going to show up to the wedding thinking Aurora was a cheater, looking at her with judgment and disgust? I forwarded the screenshots to Aurora immediately, then called her. She answered on the first ring, and I could hear that she had been crying. "I know," she said before I could speak. "Sophie already called me. Lucas, what are we going to do? Your family thinks I am some kind of terrible person. How can we have a wedding when half the guests think I am a cheater?" "We are going to fix this," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "I am going to talk to my parents tonight, show them the screenshots, make them understand that Jacob is lying. They will believe me, they have to. But what if they do not? What if they think Jacob is telling the truth and you are just blinded by love or something? Then we will elope," I said firmly. "Aurora, I am marrying you no matter what. Even if we have to fly to Vegas tomorrow and do it in a chapel with an Elvis impersonator, I am not letting Jacob ruin this for us." She laughed through her tears, a wet, broken sound. "I love you," she said. "I love you too. More than anything." That evening, I drove to my parents' house with the screenshots pulled up on my phone. I walked in without knocking, something I had not done since I was a teenager, and found them sitting in the living room watching television. "We need to talk," I said, my voice harder than I intended. "Right now." My dad muted the TV and looked at me with concern. "Lucas, what is wrong?" I held up my phone. "This is wrong. Jacob is what is wrong. Did you know he has been spreading lies about Aurora in the family group chat? Did you know he has been telling everyone she is cheating on me, trying to convince you all to stop the wedding? My parents exchanged a glance. Lucas, sit down, my mom said gently. I do not want to sit down. I want to know if you believed him. I want to know if you actually think Aurora, the woman who has been nothing but kind and loving to all of us, is capable of what Jacob is accusing her of. My dad stood up and walked over to me. Son, Jacob came to us a few weeks ago with his concerns. He said he saw Aurora with another man, that he was worried about you. We did not know what to think. So you just believed him? You did not think to ask me about it, to talk to Aurora, to get any kind of proof before deciding she was guilty? We were not deciding anything, my mom said, her voice defensive. We were trying to figure out how to handle a difficult situation. Jacob is your brother, Lucas. He loves you. Why would he lie about something like this? I laughed bitterly. Why? Because he is jealous, Mom. Because he is unemployed and miserable and cannot stand to see me happy. Because he is so bitter about his own life that he wants to drag me down with him. I showed them the screenshots then, reading Jacob's messages out loud, making sure they heard his confession. Let's see if she still walks down the aisle after this. That is not concern, I said. That is sabotage. That is your son actively trying to destroy my relationship, my wedding, my happiness. My mom's face went pale as she read through the messages. Oh my God, she whispered. Jacob, what have you done? My dad looked stricken. Lucas, we had no idea it was like this. We thought he was genuinely worried about you. Well, now you know the truth, I said. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to let him keep spreading these lies, or are you going to help me fix this? They promised they would talk to the rest of the family, send out a message clarifying that Jacob's accusations were false, that Aurora had done nothing wrong. But I could see the damage was already done. The doubt had been planted, and even if they retracted Jacob's lies, some people would always wonder if there was a kernel of truth to them. I called Jacob that night, ready for a fight. He answered on the fourth ring, his voice casual. Hey, what is up? You know exactly what is up, I said. I saw the group chat, Jacob. I saw everything you have been saying about Aurora. How could you do this? How could you lie to our entire family, try to ruin my wedding, destroy the woman I love? There was a long silence. Then Jacob said, I am not lying, Lucas. I know what I saw. Bullshit. You saw nothing because there is nothing to see. You made this up because you are jealous, because you cannot stand that I am happy and you are not. Oh, so now I am jealous? That is rich. You know what, Lucas? Maybe I am. Maybe I am sick of watching you get everything handed to you while I struggle. You get the great job, the nice condo, the perfect girlfriend. What do I get? Nothing. I get to watch my little brother live the life I was supposed to have. The life you were supposed to have? What are you talking about? No one handed me anything, Jacob. I worked my ass off for everything I have. And even if I had not, even if everything fell into my lap, that does not give you the right to sabotage my wedding. I am trying to save you from making a huge mistake, he shot back. But fine, if you want to marry her, go ahead. Do not say I did not warn you. You are not invited, I said, the words coming out before I could stop them. To the wedding. You are not my best man anymore, and you are not invited as a guest. I do not want you there. You cannot uninvite me. I am your brother. Watch me, I said, and hung up. I immediately called my parents back and told them what I had decided. There was some pushback, my mom crying and saying I could not cut Jacob out of the wedding, that it would destroy our family. But I stood firm. This was my wedding, my day, and I was not going to let Jacob ruin it. The next 2 weeks were a nightmare of damage control. Aurora and I sent out a message to the wedding guests explaining that there had been some family drama and that any rumors they had heard about Aurora were completely false. We chose my best friend from college, Elijah Brooks, to be the new best man. He accepted immediately and promised to give a speech that would make everyone forget Jacob had ever been part of the wedding party. But the stress was taking its toll on both of us. Aurora barely slept, worrying about what people would think of her when she walked down the aisle. I was consumed with anger at Jacob, at the family members who had believed him, at the entire situation. We talked about postponing the wedding, but we had already put down deposits, sent out invitations, planned everything down to the last detail. We decided to push forward. The rehearsal dinner was scheduled for the Friday night before the Saturday wedding. It was being held at a nice restaurant downtown, with about 50 people in attendance, close family, and the wedding party. I had not spoken to Jacob since our phone call, and as far as I knew, he was not planning to show up to anything wedding-related. But then, 2 days before the rehearsal dinner, Sophie called me again. "Lucas, you need to hear this." Lily sent me a voice note from Jacob. He recorded it and sent it to a few family members in private messages. "I am going to play it for you." She put me on speaker, and I heard Jacob's voice, slightly slurred, clearly drunk. "Hey everyone, just wanted to give you all a heads up about the wedding. I know Lucas uninvited me, but I think you all deserve to know the truth. Aurora has been cheating on him for months with a doctor at her hospital. I have pictures, I have proof, but Lucas would not listen. He is so blinded by her that he cannot see what is right in front of him. I hope he does not regret this for the rest of his life. Anyway, see some of you on Saturday, I guess." I felt a surge of rage so intense I thought I might actually be sick. Even after being uninvited, even after being exposed as a liar, Jacob was still trying to sabotage the wedding. He was still spreading his poison, still trying to turn people against Aurora. "That is it," I said to Sophie. "I am done playing nice. What are you going to do?" "I am going to expose him," I said. "At the rehearsal dinner. In front of everyone. I am going to play that voice note and show those screenshots, and I am going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person Jacob really is." Sophie was quiet for a moment. "Are you sure?" "That is pretty nuclear, Lucas. It could blow up your whole family." "He already blew up my family," I said. "I am just making sure everyone sees the explosion." I spent the next 2 days preparing. I created a presentation on my laptop with all the screenshots from the group chat, organized chronologically to show the progression of Jacob's lies. I saved the voice note Sophie had sent me. I wrote out what I was going to say, practiced it until I had it memorized. Aurora was nervous about the plan, worried it would make things worse, but she also agreed that we could not let Jacob's lies go unchallenged. The rehearsal dinner arrived, and we gathered at the restaurant at 7 p.m. The room was beautifully decorated, with soft lighting and flowers on every table. Our families mingled, laughing and chatting, seemingly having moved past the drama of the previous weeks. I saw some of my aunts and uncles glancing at Aurora with curiosity, probably still wondering if there was any truth to Jacob's accusations, but they were polite and congratulatory. We sat down for dinner, and the evening proceeded normally. Appetizers were served, then the main course. People gave toasts, my dad welcoming Aurora to the family, Aurora's mom talking about how happy she was that her daughter had found such a wonderful partner. Elijah gave a funny, heartfelt speech about our friendship and how he knew from the moment I met Aurora that she was the one. And then it was my turn. I stood up, tapping my wine glass to get everyone's attention. The room fell quiet, all eyes on me. "Thank you all so much for being here tonight," I started, my voice steady. "It means the world to Aurora and me to be surrounded by the people we love as we prepare to start this new chapter of our lives." I paused. "But before we go any further, there is something I need to address." I could feel the tension in the room shift, people exchanging confused glances. I pulled out my laptop and connected it to the projector screen that the restaurant had set up for speeches. "Some of you may have heard rumors over the past few weeks," I continued. "Rumors about Aurora, about her character, about her faithfulness to me. I want to set the record straight right now, in front of all of you." I pulled up the first screenshot from the group chat. This is a message from my brother Jacob, sent to many of you in the family group chat about a month ago. In it, he claims that Aurora has been cheating on me, that he has evidence, that he is worried about me marrying her. I saw several family members shift uncomfortably in their seats. Some looked down at their plates. Others stared at the screen with wide eyes. I scrolled to the next screenshot, then the next, showing the progression of Jacob's lies. I read some of the messages out loud, making sure everyone understood the full scope of what he had done. And then I pulled up the final message, the one that made his intentions crystal clear. "Let's see if she still walks down the aisle after this," I read, my voice hard. This is not the message of a concerned brother. This is the message of someone actively trying to sabotage my wedding, to humiliate my future wife, to destroy my happiness. The room was dead silent. I could see my mom with tears streaming down her face. My dad looked like he had aged 10 years in the last 5 minutes. Aurora's parents looked furious, her mom gripping the edge of the table like she might flip it over. And in case anyone thinks these messages were taken out of context, I said, "I have one more thing to share." This is a voice note Jacob sent to several family members 2 days ago, even after being uninvited from the wedding. I played the voice note, Jacob's drunk, slurred voice filling the room. I watched as people's faces changed from confusion to shock to disgust. When it finished, I closed my laptop and looked around the room. "I want to make something absolutely clear," I said. "Aurora has never cheated on me. She has never given me a single reason to doubt her. Every accusation Jacob made was a complete fabrication, born out of his own jealousy and bitterness. He has been unemployed for months, struggling with his own life, and instead of asking for help or support, he decided to try to drag me down with him." I turned to Aurora, who was crying quietly, her maid of honor Sophie holding her hand. "I am sorry," I said to her. "I am sorry you had to deal with this, sorry my family put you through this nightmare. You deserve better." Then I turned back to the room. Jacob is not welcome at our wedding tomorrow. And frankly, anyone who believed his lies without talking to me or Aurora first, anyone who participated in spreading these rumors, you need to take a hard look at yourselves. This is not how family treats each other. I sat down, my hands shaking. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Then my dad stood up, his face red, his jaw clenched. "Jacob has betrayed this family," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "He betrayed his brother, he slandered Aurora, and he nearly destroyed one of the most important days of Lucas's life. There will be consequences for this. Serious consequences." My mom stood up next. "Aurora, honey, I am so sorry," she said, walking over to our table. "We should have come to you immediately. We should have trusted you. Please forgive us." Aurora nodded, unable to speak through her tears. One by one, family members came over to apologize, to hug her, to tell her they never really believed Jacob's accusations. I did not know if that was true, but it did not matter anymore. The truth was out, and there was no taking it back. The rest of the rehearsal dinner was subdued but warm. People were extra kind to Aurora, going out of their way to compliment her, to tell her how excited they were for the wedding. Aurora's maid of honor Sophie pulled me aside at one point and said, "That took guts, Lucas. I am proud of you for standing up for her." The wedding itself was beautiful, everything Aurora and I had dreamed it would be. The sun shone through the windows of the chapel, the flowers were perfect, the music was perfect. When Aurora walked down the aisle, she looked like an angel, and I forgot about Jacob, forgot about the drama, forgot about everything except how much I loved this woman. Elijah's best man speech was funny and touching, full of stories about our college days and jokes about how whipped I was. No one mentioned Jacob. It was like he had been erased from the day entirely, which was exactly what I wanted. But the story did not end there. A few days after the wedding, while Aurora and I were on our honeymoon in Greece, Sophie called to tell me that the screenshots and the recording had gone viral online. Apparently, one of our wedding guests had posted about the rehearsal dinner drama on social media, and it had been picked up by one of those wedding-shaming accounts. From there, it exploded. The post was titled "My Brother's Texts Tried to Ruin My Wedding." They ended up saving it, and it had hundreds of thousands of shares, millions of views. People were outraged on our behalf. The comments were full of support for Aurora and condemnation of Jacob. Some people shared their own stories of family members trying to sabotage their weddings. Others just wanted to know what happened to Jacob after everything came out. The truth is, I have not spoken to Jacob since that phone call before the rehearsal dinner. My parents tried to get him to come to family therapy, to apologize, to make amends, but he refused. He moved out of state a few months after the wedding, and last I heard, he was living in Arizona, working some dead-end job and still blaming everyone but himself for his problems. Some people might think I was too harsh, that I should not have exposed him so publicly, that family drama should stay private. But I do not regret it. Jacob was not going to stop on his own. He was going to keep spreading lies, keep trying to destroy Aurora's reputation, keep trying to sabotage our marriage. The only way to stop him was to expose him, to make sure everyone knew the truth. Aurora and I have been married for 9 months now, and we are happier than ever. We bought a house together, adopted a dog, and are talking about starting a family in the next year or two. My relationship with my parents has recovered, though it took some time and a lot of honest conversations. They apologized profusely, not just for believing Jacob but for not standing up for Aurora sooner. We see them regularly now, and they treat Aurora like the daughter they always wanted. As for the rest of the family, most of them have come around. A few people still seem uncomfortable around us, probably embarrassed about their role in believing Jacob's lies, but they are polite and civil. My Aunt Patricia actually reached out a few months ago to apologize in depth, explaining that she had been going through her own marital problems and was perhaps too quick to believe the worst about relationships in general. The viral post brought some unexpected consequences too. Aurora and I were contacted by a few media outlets asking if we wanted to tell our story, but we declined. This was our life, our pain, and we did not want to turn it into entertainment. However, several people reached out to thank us for sharing what happened, saying it gave them the courage to stand up to toxic family members in their own lives. That part felt good, knowing that our nightmare might have helped someone else. Looking back, I think the hardest part was accepting that the brother I thought I knew, the brother I looked up to and loved, was not who I thought he was. Maybe he never was. Maybe the jealousy and bitterness were always there, just hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right circumstances to emerge. Or maybe I had changed, grown beyond him, and he could not handle being left behind. Either way, I learned some valuable lessons from this experience. I learned that family is not always who shares your blood, but who shows up for you when it matters. I learned that protecting the people you love sometimes means cutting out the people who hurt them, even if it is painful. I learned that standing up for what is right is more important than keeping the peace. And most importantly, I learned that Aurora is the strongest, most resilient person I have ever met. She endured weeks of false accusations, of knowing that people she barely knew were gossiping about her, of walking into our wedding worried that guests were judging her. But she held her head high, trusted in our love, and came out the other side with grace and dignity. Jacob tried to ruin our wedding, tried to destroy our relationship, tried to paint Aurora as something she could never be. But all he did was show us who really mattered, who really cared, and how strong our love truly was. In a twisted way, I almost want to thank him for that. Almost. These days, when people ask me about my wedding, I tell them it was perfect. And it was, not despite the drama, but because of how we handled it. We faced down the lies, exposed the truth, and started our marriage with complete honesty and transparency. We proved that our love was stronger than jealousy, stronger than family politics, stronger than anything Jacob could throw at us. So if you are reading this because you saw the viral post, or because you are dealing with your own toxic family situation, or just because you stumbled across our story somehow, let me tell you this. Do not let anyone dim your light. Do not let jealousy and bitterness from others make you doubt yourself or the people you love. Stand up for what is right, even when it is hard, even when it is family, even when everyone tells you to just let it go. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with your choices. And I would rather live with the choice to protect my wife and our future than the choice to protect a brother who was trying to destroy both. That might sound cold, but it is the truth. Some bridges are worth burning if they lead to places you should not go. Aurora and I are building our own family now, one based on love and trust and mutual respect. We are creating our own traditions, our own definitions of what family means. And while it is sad that Jacob is not part of that, it is also liberating. We do not have to walk on eggshells, do not have to wonder what he is saying behind our backs, do not have to defend ourselves against baseless accusations. We are free. And that freedom is worth everything.